I'm a Jew, and I'm in a concentration camp.
I'm a Jew. I'm in a concentration camp, and the Nazis scare me.
I was alive during the 1990 Disabilities Act.
Some 43 million Americans have one or more physical or mental disabilities. This number is increasing as the population as a whole is growing older. Historical societies have tended to isolate and segregate individuals with disabilities. And despite some improvements, such forms of discrimination against individuals with disabilities continue to be serious and pervasive social problems throughout history.
I was about 14 over 80 years ago. I had to be put through a terrifying experience when I had to get sterilized because I was not German. I have schizophrenia. When me and my family and I lived in the concentration camp, my sister and I were forced into it. I was the only one in my family that survived. I will no longer have any living relatives, no one to carry on my family name.
And I've been able to my whole life. I was forced to be sterilized because they thought I would pass on my disabilities. It was heartbreaking. I couldn't give a daughter to my loving wife. And worst of all, they took away something that I've always wanted, a family.
The nation carried sterilization as far as Hitler's Germany. The forced sterilizations began in January 1934, and altogether an estimated 300,000 and 400,000 people were sterilized under the law. Several thousand people died as a result of the operation. Women disproportionately because of the greater risk of tubal ligation. Conservative estimates suggest that at least 5,000 physical and mentally disabled children were murdered through starvation or lethal overdose of medication.
In 1907 and 1939, more than 3,000 people in 29 states were sterilized.
Or animal with the ability to produce offspring, typically by removing or blocking the sex organs.
Prisons or institutions for the mentally ill, nearly half of the operations were carried out in California.
I was treated poorly because I act different. People avoid me because I have no emotion. My friends in concentration camps won't talk to me, and because I don't socialize, that makes me weird. They would make fun of me and won't even let me have half of my rights.
They treat me as if I'm a human being. They treat me as if I'm a wounded animal, and no one wants to hang around me because they're scared they'll catch my blindness. I'm unwanted. This is supposed to be the land of the free, but I feel caged, forced to stay in my home because of the way people treat me. I may be blind, but words still hurt.
Individuals with disabilities are a discrete and insular minority who have been faced with the restrictions and limitations, subjected to a history of purposeful unequal treatment, and relegated to a position of political powerlessness in our society, based on characteristics that are beyond the control of such individuals or resulting from stereotypic assumptions not truly indicative of the individual's ability to such individual to participate in and contribute to society.
People with disabilities compose a minority group for which little suicide data has ever been collected. A great deal is known, however, about the violent social oppression endured by this population in employment, in interpersonal acceptance, economic stability, and freedom of mobility and community access. All variables thought to have a significant bearing on a suicide potential. People with disabilities are among the most disadvantaged. Current research indicates people with disabilities experience more environmentally induced depression than average, again suggesting an increased potential for preventable suicide. Particularly alarming is the current trend to deny basic suicide prevention services to individuals who are severely disabled, those most exposed to higher risk factors.
The thing that I was happy about, there was no massive killings because of my disabilities. But I'm sure if this act wasn't put in place, for sure it was coming.
My family were put into a gas chamber. I can still hear the crying and the screaming. They said I was crazy, but I'm the one who survived.
It took place every day between 1940 and 1941. Approximately 70,000 Austrian and German disabled people were killed under the T4 program. Most via large-scale killing operations used poison gas. T4 was a secret program. Hitler secretly authorized a medical administration program of mercy death, codenamed Operation T4, in reference to the address of the program's Berlin headquarters at Tiger Inst.
United States until the 1980s and in some cases the 1990s, in which way people with Down syndrome and other disabilities were treated, represents a shameful chapter in humanity and discrimination in our country. We have been discriminated against in employment, schools, housing, robbed of our personal economy, and too often hidden away and forgotten in a larger society. There were little to no reports of mass killings.